The last week was hot in the world of AI. Claude 3, Stable Diffusion 3, new AI announcements and updates, OpenAI acquisition, and more. So let's not waste any more time and get straight to business. Anthropic just announced Claude 3 and they claim it to be more powerful than Chat GPT. What is it all about? The official blog post gives a lot of information about the new model that I think we should check out. First, Claude 3 comes in 3 different versions, depending on how smart and powerful the model is. Claude 3 Haiku, Sonnet, and Opus. Haiku is the least powerful of the bunch, while Opus is the true powerhouse. Developers say that this division into 3 models allows users to select the optimal balance of intelligence, speed, and cost for their application. Here is how the graph looks. We can see that Claude 3 Haiku is many times cheaper to run than Sonnet, while delivering over half of the intelligence. And judging by this graph, the Opus is even more expensive than Sonnet, while also getting around 50 to 60% higher performance. But this graph doesn't really tell us stories, so let's look at the comparison chart of all 3 Claude models, Chat GPT variants, and 2 Gemini variants. Opus outperforms its peers on most of the common evaluation benchmarks for AI systems, including undergraduate level expert knowledge, MMLU, graduate level expert reasoning, GPQA, basic mathematics, I'm not saying that, and more. It exhibits near human levels of comprehension and fluency on complex tasks, leading the frontier of general intelligence. All Claude 3 models show increased capabilities in analysis and forecasting, nuanced content creation, code generation, conversing in non-English languages like Spanish, Japanese, and French. What I find interesting is that even the basic Claude 3 Haiku outperforms both GPT 3.5 and Gemini Pro. Sonnet seems to be somewhere in the middle between GPT 3.5 and GPT-4, Gemini Ultra, and Gemini Pro. And in many tasks, it even manages to outperform the most advanced models from Google and OpenAI. Of course, all the tests conducted can be called cherry picking and may not fully paint a picture of how powerful the Claude 3 is. Another area where Claude 3 saw a significant jump was in terms of vision capabilities. The chart shows that Claude 3 Opus in many ways is better than GPT-4 vision, and in some cases is very similar to Gemini Ultra that was proven to be really good at image recognition. Also, the 3rd generation of Claude makes fewer refusals. The Claude 3 models show more nuanced understanding of requests, recognize real harm, and refuse to answer harmless prompts much less often. Developers also claim to improve the accuracy of the responses. When I tried Claude a while back, I cannot say that I noticed that many incorrect responses. There were some, but not very common. I think they mostly referred to enterprise cases, where the type of requests is different and the amount of those requests is much higher than anything a regular person could ever reach. Opus and Sonnet are already available to use as API in 159 countries. Haiku will be available soon. But that isn't the only interesting announcement that happened. Stability AI has announced Stable Diffusion 3 in early preview, and the newly published research paper promises some seriously interesting stuff. First, Stable Diffusion 3 uses MMDIT architecture, which stands for Multimodal Diffusion Transformer. This architecture is similar to the one used by Sora. Previous versions of Stable Diffusion and most current image generation AIs use a diffusion model. Large language models for text generation, like GPT, use a transformer architecture. Diffusion models perform well at creating detail in small regions, but are poor at generating the overall layout of an image. But transformers are good at layout, but poor at creating detail. Being able to combine the 2 models lets us take advantage of the best parts of both architectures. And now let's quickly look at example images from the announcement, focusing on limitations. For example, one of the persistent issues for all AI image generators is the text generation. Even though Stable Diffusion 3 is much better at this than it was before, we can still see imperfections that a person wouldn't allow to happen. These imperfections come down to spacing of letters, keeping them properly sized, and so on. For example, the main image with the text Stable Diffusion 3 has a couple of these issues, like letters A and B becoming one letter and variable distance between letters. And the image of a bus shows the size inconsistency. On the Dream On sign, all the letters have a different size. Also, on the same image, we can see that Stable Diffusion still isn't perfect when working with shadows. The shadow from the bus falls in one direction, while the shadow from the houses fall in a different direction. However, the developers in their research paper put a huge emphasis on performance and human feedback. We have compared output images from Stable Diffusion 3 with various other open models, as well as closed source systems such as DALL-E 3, Midjourney V6, and Ideogram V1. During these tests, human evaluators were provided with example outputs from each model and asked to select the best results based on how closely the model outputs follow the context of the prompt it was given, how well text was rendered based on the prompt, and which image is of a higher aesthetic quality. We have found that Stable Diffusion 3 is equal to or outperforms current state-of-the-art text-to-image generation systems in all of the above areas. All of this sounds really promising, but unfortunately Stable Diffusion 3 isn't publicly available yet. But as soon as it lands, we will make a video about it, so you better subscribe to the channel. Another announcement that just happened was Copilot for Finance from Microsoft. This is a very nice niche product optimized for people working in finance with huge spreadsheets. From what I see on the website, it seems eerily similar to those Wolfram logins for Chat GPT. And it will be integrated into the Excel, Outlook, and Teams, and should help with routine tasks and data analysis. For example, it can access and analyze data from various sources, including financial systems like Dynamics 365 and SAP, as well as emails and spreadsheets. It also can automate repetitive tasks such as variance analysis, collections, and invoice matching. It can generate insights and recommendations and even suggest actions based on data. This all sounds really great, especially for people working the corporate jobs in the financial area, doing less manual work, being more efficient, making more informed decisions. Doesn't sound a little dystopian to you? We made a video about jobs that may soon disappear, and it seems like finance professionals should be added to that list now. There's also been a very interesting ChatGPT rival revealed. MISTRAL Large was created by a French startup MISTRAL and promises to be very similar to GPT-4. According to the company, MISTRAL Large ranks second in the top LLM global list, with metrics and accuracy only outperformed by ChatGPT-4. The developers highlight a couple of key capabilities. It's natively fluent in English, French, Spanish, German, and Italian, with a nuanced understanding of grammar and cultural context. It has a 32K token context window, precisely follows the instructions, and allows for custom moderation policies. And it's even natively capable of function calling. But let's look at the comparison chart and see whether it is as good as the developers claim it to be. And judging by the numbers, MISTRAL is pretty close to ChatGPT-4 in common sense, reasoning, and knowledge. And when it comes to multilingual capacities, MISTRAL outperforms MIXTRAL and Llama 2 by a noticeable margin. Even in terms of math and coding, it is similar to GPT-4 and Gemini Ultra. The developers are also releasing a small and more optimized model, focusing on latency and cost. And apparently this model is also a tad bit faster than its competitors. I think it is great that European startups are catching up to the big players in that industry. We need more news like that. Even though this startup doesn't have that much money or capacities as OpenAI or Google, its partnership with Microsoft is quite promising and could lead to interesting developments that are different from what one is doing. It would be really fun to make a huge comparison of the most powerful AI chatbots, don't you think? The world of music is also moving forward, with Adobe previewing cutting-edge generative AI tools for crafting and editing custom audio. The new project, titled Music Gen AI Control, according to the post, allows musicians to generate music from text prompts and even have full control over the audio. With Project Music Gen AI Control, generative AI becomes your co-creator. It helps people craft music for their projects, whether they are broadcasters or podcasters or anyone else who needs audio that's just the right mood, tone, and length. The AI will then create an initial tune based on the user's prompt, which they can also edit using text. Adobe said users can, for instance, edit the generated music's intensity, extend the length of the music clip, or create a repeatable loop. I must say, the video they made doesn't really show anything visually, but is fun to watch. Also, the tool doesn't even have the interface yet. It's all done through the console commands. This is very different from commercially available AI music generators we've tested before, and some of them even give good results. For example, Music Effects, created by Google, is a formidable opponent to Adobe's creation, so it might hint at what the finished product will look like. Music Effects generates tracks from a text prompt and lets users control each part of the prompt through drop-down menus. I cannot say that this is some crazy flexibility, but it's already enough to create some background music for a short video. We've also tested Beethoven, and it was quite good. This was an interesting week for sure, and one of the releases was Amazon's Rufus. Even though the initial unveil happened in February, only now it has gotten to a point where people were actually able to test it and use it. And well, it's definitely something. Here is what Amazon says about it. Rufus is an expert shopping assistant trained on Amazon's product catalog and information from across the web to answer customer questions and shopping needs, products, and comparisons, make recommendations based on this context, and facilitate product discovery in the same Amazon shopping experience customers use regularly. But when the Washington Post did their testing, they found that Rufus is not quite there to be called an expert. Amazon's chatbot doesn't deliver on the promise of finding the best products for your needs or getting you started on a new hobby. Depending on how I phrased the question, the Amazon bot several times offered basic suggestions that I could find in a how-to article and didn't recommend specific products. Still, when the Amazon bot responded to my questions, I usually couldn't tell why the suggested products were considered the right ones for me, or I didn't feel I could trust the chatbot's recommendations. To me, this all is quite fun. A huge corporation with all the money in the world rolling out an underdeveloped and untested feature just for the sake of it. We get to laugh and the users get frustrated. It's definitely not something we want AI to do. Luckily, Rufus is still under development, so hopefully in a few months it will eventually become somewhat decent. But not every company is as bad at AI as Amazon. Wix, a website building platform, has just released their own AI builder, and it's pretty cool. Creating a site is as easy as hitting the Create with AI button and chatting with the bot about what you're looking for in your website. The questions are quite simple and take only a couple of seconds to answer. Basically, it's like chatting with a human designer. Then you wait a bit and get a full-fledged website. The promo materials, in my opinion, are a bit exaggerating the real capabilities of the AI. In past videos, I've tested dozens of different AI website builders, and none of them were able to generate something like that. Usually, the generated websites are quite crude and simple in their nature, without complicated animations or anything like that. Wix also can change themes for the website, each of which has a different color palette and overall look. But if you want, you can just type in more requirements for the website and it will think of something. Even the layout can be changed with a simple prompt. I like that very much. This promotional video really paints a very pretty picture, but if we take a look at the website, we'll see that the real world results are a bit more modest. Still nice, but modest. Don't expect anything super creative or advanced. This is pretty much the level of a junior designer, but faster and cheaper. And Wix is a very well-known and reputable platform for website building, so I have a lot of trust in this AI and believe that it will get better and better with every update. There's also been a small update to the GPT Store. The new update allows users of third-party GPTs to rate them using a drop-down menu that lists a new option: send feedback. OpenAI showed how it's done on Consensus, a pretty good research assistant. We should make a video about it. Anyway, to leave a review, we need to click on the GPT name and select Send Feedback. The menu will then appear, allowing us to leave a 1 to 5 star rating and a text box to send an optional private email to that GPT's creator. There's also a checkbox option where we can leave our own address visible or hidden, a little privacy trick. I know this feature seems small and insignificant, but you won't believe how many interesting GPTs I've tested that needed some fine-tuning and adjustment. And not all of them had an option to contact their creator in any way. Now, when you encounter a custom GPT and have problems with it or have ideas on how to improve things, you can send all your suggestions directly to the person who created this GPT. Also, this rating will probably be used in the store, indicating user satisfaction with certain GPTs. Again, this is a small update, but an important one. But OpenAI felt quite talkative this week and released a blog post about its relationships with Elon Musk and Tesla, and you won't believe what's inside. I'm not gonna read you the whole thing, but instead I'll give you a shorter version what happened between Elon Musk and OpenAI, and how Tesla was going to acquire OpenAI. Please note, these events transpired a few years back and were published only now, following Elon's lawsuit. So Here's the story. OpenAI is all about making sure artificial general intelligence AGI is good for everyone. They realized early on that building AGI would be a massive money sink, far beyond initial estimates. Elon was one of the big names behind their funding, suggesting they announce a whopping $1 billion commitment to kick things off. He's pitched in less than $45 million himself, with over $90 million coming from other supporters. At first, the team thought $100 million might be enough, but Elon pushed for a bigger figure to not look weak next to tech giants like Google. By 2017, it became crystal clear reaching AGI wasn't just about smart ideas. It needed serious computing power and consequently a ton of cash. Discussions about switching to a for-profit model came up because the non-profit route wasn't going to cover the massive costs. Elon had big ideas here too, like merging OpenAI with Tesla and taking full control himself. Elon suggested making OpenAI part of Tesla, hinting at a unique opportunity for OpenAI to ride on Tesla's financial coattails. He even mentioned the idea in an email that OpenAI could attach to Tesla as its cash cow, which could give OpenAI the financial muscle it needed to compete with the likes of Google. Despite these discussions, the idea of merging with Tesla or any deal that would give someone complete control over OpenAI didn't sit right. And that's a good thing. OpenAI held firm, which eventually led to Elon parting ways to start his own AGI company, and later soon OpenAI as it began making significant strides without him. This is pretty much the whole story, and to me it seems like something absolutely crazy right now. But let's fantasize for a while. Do you think it would have been beneficial for AI if Elon Musk was in charge of the most influential AI company of the last decade? Personally, I don't think so. Elon, without a doubt, is a very talented businessman, but sometimes his decisions aren't all that logical. Just think about him buying out Twitter for an absurd amount of money.
You can see it for yourself on Twitter, even in the For You feed.
Right.
No, Twitter is, we're roughly break even at this point. Depending on how things go, if current trends continue, I think we could be profitable.
Think of all those funny features in Teslas like farting sounds.
And fart on demand is what I like to have.
AI is a serious thing, and you cannot approach it lightly. It has to be guided by a person who understands not only the positive sides, but also possible negatives of the technology. And it surely has to be a person who directly participates in the development. With the number of companies that Elon Musk owns, at least a part of it, I don't think that OpenAI would have been able to achieve such heights. As I said, Elon is working on his own AI, and I honestly can't wait to test it out myself. Another AI-related thing that happened this week was the release of the M3 MacBook Air by Apple. Apple's press release for the new M3 MacBook Air includes a bold claim calling the machine the world's best consumer laptop for AI. The claim comes ahead of WWDC 2024, during which Apple is expected to announce a bunch of new AI features across all its platforms. With the transition to Apple Silicon, every Mac is a great platform for AI. Leveraging this incredible AI performance, macOS delivers intelligent features that enhance productivity and creativity. I must say, Apple is playing safe here. They're not directly saying anything about AI itself, and mostly mention apps that already have AI in them. But here's one interesting bit. MacBook Air can also run optimized AI models, including large language models and diffusion models for image generation locally with great performance. If you're not used to reading Apple's press releases, there's one interesting detail here. Apple didn't mention artificial intelligence at all in the press release for the M3 MacBook Pro last October. While Apple generally mentions things like machine learning in press releases, this is a very rare mention of AI specifically. And by the way, we just made a great video where we did a deep dive into all the leaks and rumors regarding Apple's upcoming AI features, because those are gonna be fire. The world of AI is moving fast and the flow of news just keeps coming. We will keep you updated, so be sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and see you soon.